Well, the community always asks, can't we just see more gameplay? Well, here you have it. 17 out of 17 possible games at the Intel Extreme Masters, and we're going down to the wire. Game 5 in the finals between QG and Ever. I'm not going to put anyone on the spot and be like, who do you think is going to win it? Because I do think it's really hard to tell, unless you feel very strongly about a certain team.
QG.
Okay. All right. I'm willing to take it. But what do you think, Ever does now? Because they threw that, big curveball of Varus, and it haunted the team so far. It haunted QG for 2 games. I was telling QG's like, here's the Nautilus. What do we expect to see from Ever?
So the thing is, Ever on the blue side now, I feel like they should just prioritize the Tristana, remove the Dr. Mundo. I feel like that should be the plan, depending on QG's final ban, because I still feel Ryze is super powerful, but the problem is Tristana is good into Ryze, so that kind of counteracts itself. So I'm expecting the Tristana first pick.
Okay.
I hope it gets banned, in all honesty.
By QG then?
Yeah.
All right.
Tristana would be a really good ban.
Yep.
First pick the Ryze if it's not banned.
The problem is though, it's like if you ban Tristana, it's like if QG ban Tristana on their side now, they only have 1 ban left. If they ban the Tristana, it leaves the Ryze for the first pick, and then suddenly Ryze is powerful again.
But you pick up Lissandra, and you have purple sides, so you get double rotation of like kind of the overarching OP champions left.
Well, the problem here, like if ever, what I wanted to see from them here as the last ban is Dr. Mundo. Now with Dr. Mundo in the picture,
take
they
Liss
can
Mundo if they first pick Ryze. Yep.
Can definitely get 2 powerful picks on QG's side now. Really expect Dr. Mundo on the blue side ban, because that is what Ever has been doing throughout this series.
Yeah, I wonder if they're just maybe going to take it themselves first. I mean, especially with the Nidalee ban, I'm sure we saw Swift have some success with it today, but it is actually going to be a Varus ban. QG, despite having kind of indirectly banned it last game.
Genius.
Here's the thing, they put Ever in a position where they have to first pick Lulu right now. Because there's no clear answer to the Lulu. That's why they banned Varus. So they force Ever in a position where, hey, do you want to have Lulu? You have to take Lulu. Now, we're going to take Mundo and Ryze or something. But I would be very
We're going to see it, Lulu and Dr. Mundo in one team.
If they take the Ryze, that is what we talked about. It wouldn't be shocking at all for QG to take that up. And if they do start their draft with a Mundo and a Lulu, things are going to start looking very grim for
over the course of the series, I actually wouldn't really trust Crazy to put out a good performance enough on Ryze to actually carry the game. Like, it's not like meant as like a bad thing, but I think it's better if he just takes a seat back and gives like stronger champions to his other teammates, because he hasn't been on the same level as his teammates, I think.
Yeah.
One more thing though, sure Dr. Mundo and Lulu is in the picture, but we've been talking about the Tristana and the Trundle as well. So even though I feel like QG are in the driver's seat in this pick and ban, there are a lot of powerful picks still open for Ever to pick up.
But come on, Lulu, Mundo, how are you going to lose team fight?
They still have time to mess this up.
You never know. But I think the point you're bringing up, I think, is interesting, is the fact that this game, over the course of a best-of-5, has now suddenly devolved into a game of target bans, right? The Varus comes out, the Nidalee comes out, the Victor comes out, the Soraka.
I actually prefer this.
Pick up, or not Callista, Kindred into a Mundo jungle.
Here's the thing, with the removal of Nidalee, I wonder how, if you pick Rexa on Ever side right now, what is Swift gonna pull out? Like, how can he affect the game that much when he doesn't have that Nidalee or Rexa? What is he gonna pick?
Dr. Mundo.
I think at that point you go Mundo, because this is the last game of a best-of-5. You just play this late, go into a 5v5 and outscale. You already have Tristana, you have Lulu. If they do decide to go Mundo, you do the Kindred, and that way you just kite back with the whimsy from Lulu and the range from Tristana and Kindred.
Okay.
I feel like it's super important for Ever to pick up Dr. Mundo here.
Yeah, I agree.
If Mundo, Tristana, and Lulu happen to be on one team, it feels like all the stars have aligned. It is a sacred date today, 20th of December. We're going to remember it in the history of everything, where all these 3 champions happen to be.
But now you grab the Trundle to counter out the Mundo, slow him down with your pillar.
It's just a ping-pong game going back and forth between these 2 teams. Trundle probably going to go over to QG.
Should be locked in pretty much at this point, yeah.
What else do you think QG shows here?
Probably just gonna pick
pick up the jungle pick.
They've left jungle to like last,
Rek'Sai.
like very late. Rek'Sai is still like good, but yeah, I think to just hide a bit more, they should just pick up the Rek'Sai here right now and then have like a bit of early game pressure. You don't need a scaling jungler. You have enough scaling on your team with the Lulu and Tristana. Just pick a fairly early game jungler. Oh. That makes me super happy right now.
The earliest
finally see it.
Yeah.
Just finally see this pick.
And again, the same idea, the fact that you need to kite back Lundo. Oh, you need to kite back Lundo. So
Why
you
you
have
do this?
the filler.
But, you know, you guys did mention the Rek'Sai
Of
also
course,
probably being a good
Rek'Sai is a
pick
good
here.
pick, stable pick. And overall, what was ever like, what do they want to accomplish here right now?
Well,
Fiora?
the thing is, already Ever's composition is relatively low range, easy to kite. Dr. Mundo, even though he's a powerful stat bot, he doesn't really have any gap closers. Can run after you, but you're not going to catch a Lulu Tristana composition with a Trundle under heels as well.
Yeah, well, it does look like they're going to have to just force something to happen once they go in game. They've already locked in the first 3 roles, and it is going to be that Fiora coming in, more of a powerhouse, a little bit more of a carry role, even though it's not going to be Ryze.
Which means the Ryze is going mid lane, yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like the Fiora, yeah, it's a good pick, but I feel like it's almost trying to say, you know, don't pick up Lissandra here because the Fiora-Lissandra matchup, likewise, taking away the Fiora, so Tristana and Fiora aren't on the same team. We've already seen that V likes to play it. Tristana and Fiora work really well in tandem together because you start the resets off by dropping that Fiora ultimate and having Trist Goomba stop around the fight.
Well, it's gone all the way to the last pick. They've answered each other back and forth each rotation, and now we'll see.
I would love to see some early game power here. I would love to see a Renekton, a champion we haven't seen throughout the tournament, but into Fiora, this is a very dynamic matchup, and eventually it's going to be Lulu top.
Don't do this. Do not do this.
To be fair, in the previous game, Ever had this relatively low range composition. That's why Cassiopeia worked out. Once again, we're in the same seat. Very, very low range on Ever's side. And you asked us before, who do you think will win? I'm going to give it to QG after this draft.
Yeah?
Definitely.
Okay, all right. Hands going to QG so far. But before we jump into the game, just really quick, last time the Nautilus was, of course, a big factor. You could force the fights if you wanted to before they had to jump into range. Now you are a little bit at the mercy of Ever jumping into your range.
I mean, to be fair, I think Cassio is like really good into Ryze. I think it's like just the answer to match Ryze's mid lane power because it used to be like a traditional counter matchup and highly favor into Cassiopeia. So that's why I can see the Cassio pick. But yeah, overall, I think QG probably has the advantage here in the draft too.
For sure.
All right, well, our experts say QG looking real good as we go into game number 5. Can they get the victory? Is it Ever going to make their dream come true? Coming off of a victory in the Kespoka, can they win the Intel Extreme Masters Cologne? Let's find out as we load into game number 5.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is it. Everything comes down to this final game of our best of 5 grand final here for the 2015 Intel Extreme Masters Cologne. It's going to be Ever going up against QG. These guys have been duking it out now over this entire series, back and forth games. But here it is. It ends here, gentlemen. And the draft, like the analyst said, looking good for QG.
I have to say, unfortunately for Ever fans, it felt like an echo chamber in here as well. You look at the things that ChowGu have been able to put together, specifically 3 melee champions, the likes of the Rise, the likes of the Dr. Mundo. All 3 of these champions, obviously Rise not range, but short range, all these champions want to just put on their Nikes and go straight into the fight. Fiora, Mundo, Rise, straight into the fight. Whether it's the Petrifying Gaze, whether it's the Trundle Pillar, whether it's Lulu's Suite of Disengage, how do ever close the gap against ChowGu?
It's going to be so difficult for them as we load up onto the Rift for what is guaranteed to be the final time. We've seen so many great games in this Intel Extreme Masters Cologne, and this one will be one another, absolutely certainly. But forever, they have got a massive challenge in front of them. We talked about their draft and how great they have been across this tournament, but QG Reapers have shown up big and evolved to this level where I don't think anyone can stop them.
That's right, you know, take all your preparation, all your preconceptions and throw them away. What you wrote on the pieces of paper, burn them down, because we came in saying QG, weak early game, one-dimensional, team fighters where it's at, but they have demonstrated that they can also display mastery over all parts of the game, just as Ever have done themselves.
Yeah, Frostgurren has to feel vindicated. Absolutely, they have risen to the challenge that was set to them, and this is the ChowGu narrative, and it's being reinforced right here, specifically in terms of the drafting. They are on top of drafting this whole series. They've done wonderful things in that regard. And we come to a game 5 and we kind of scratch our heads. Okay, double teleport, that's an improvement already. The flanks are all you can hope for. The Callista ultimate in some sort of amazing Alistair play. That's the only initiation that exists. And even though you have all this scaling in the late game, Fiora, Mundo, Rise are so damn strong. The split push, maybe that's the one thing we haven't talked about. There is definitely a scenario where Lulu can't enter lane against the Fiora. So perhaps that's their only hope, because team fights doesn't seem like it's going to be a realistic win condition.
Do have the lane swap here as well. Very quickly under Injectors. We'll have to see some buddy jungling here for just a second, as that Callista will be spending her, you know, decently strong early game without an opponent, at least for now.
This is the first time all series we have seen this lane swap come into play, and of course it's going to mean the double jungle. We've seen it earlier on in this tournament, resulting in those fast pushes, which means a lot of gold for both these teams. Should accelerate the pace of it. And yeah, you talked about this, Papa Smithy, the double teleport finally in favor of Ever. This could be a problem for QG, but Dwinby has gone for the much more defensive, I'm going to counterplay you, I have the exhaust, so I know that I have a little bit of an edge here. But with the Rise on the TP, if it goes a little while longer, it could be a troubling thing. TCT looking to try and bait something out, but nothing doing, as it looks like they will attempt to at least swap the Alistar back. Key is moving up solo to the top lane.
Honestly, it's a bit curious that we see QG initiate this lane swap. Remember, of course, they've set their bot lane, top lane, so they're the ones initiated the lane swap. They've got the 2v2 matchup that's honestly considered favorable. Tristana is said to beat Callista just because when it comes to auto attack modifier trades, the explosive charge just much more reliable than the Ren. It's said to be a good 2v2 matchup. And then, you know, this 1v1 matchup between the ranged Lulu and the melee Fiora starts good, doesn't go so well late. So I don't see what's really been the impetus for this swap. I guess it does isolate mid, and you have to like Cassiopeia against Rise.
Yeah, well, looks like they're going to start the fight, and here is Key going low as TNT goes in.
3v4 and Key started. I'm not really sure the idea of that one is there's a force to flash from Ares as well. Mind you, Key had to flash to get in there. So Ever spending a lot for nothing.
That was just such a weird setup. Normally when you have this lane swap that turns into this 4v0 or 3v0, both teams opt to take it, but they left Loken in the bottom on the side of Ever and opted to try and fight this out. As a result, QG will get the pushes. They've let the minions just completely evaporate and bash up against the side of this turret. TNT can finish it off and let the wave bounce back, relatively speaking, his way. But such a strange early game maneuver. QG come out ahead there, but now Dwinby, he's got the help of Athena, who has to flash, and Swift goes in.
Once a bit of a misfire on the flash. The mechanics often very on point from Swift, but not working there. Just returning to the lane swap, though. In Korea, we actually often saw the lane swap defense happen. That's where you send those members a bit more proactively. They stand under the turret, and suddenly you can't get that fast push. But when you're late, when you can't make it to the safety of the turret, 3 plus a turret does beat 4. When those 3 are caught in that horrible spot between the outer and the inner turrets, that's the result. They just have to watch as the objective goes down, and that's at the cost of getting resources anywhere else on the map forever. So just puts ChowGu that little bit more ahead, and that's the 500 gold lead you see.
Loken now has been able to farm up a little bit, but TNT and TCT do return towards that bottom lane, and Key won't be too far behind. So, I mean, QG get the bonus, I guess, off that lane swap. Like you said, Tristana can deal with Loken, especially on that Kalista, but we've got a tower in that top lane.
Absolutely true. TNT in this 2v2 against Loken and Key is going to have a little bit of an edge despite the farm differential, just because he was able to pick up his pickaxe. So Loken can't check too far into this. TCT may not be in the best position to be able to counter-fight this as well, but I would expect some pressure from Swift to be heading towards the bottom side. Although it's going to be Key going in, and the pillar comes down.
Yeah, it's a level advantage for Loken. TNT was only level 4, and Loken wanted to come forward and get some damage across the line. But you can see TCT blowing some cooldowns there himself, going in for a quick chomp, and isn't going to be punished for pushing in that deep. But Swift is on his way towards the bottom side. He has crossed a ward, and Key and Loken are ready for him.
The big mistake there was actually a mechanical one. TNT put the explosive charge on a very low health minion, so didn't manage to get any trade damage. So at the end of the day, the pickaxe differential didn't mean anything. In an even trade, the pickaxe will be a big factor, but mechanical misplay means that what should be a lopsided trade actually went just fine forever.
Aries just working on this Scuttle Crab here is, you know, we've gazed over the scoreboard and not seeing anything really stand out to us except that little bit of extra farm that Loken got early on. It's a teleport being expended to get towards a mid lane, but straight away, a petrifying gaze here from DoinB. For whatever reason, I'm not sure, because Aries was there to help him out. Swift off to the side.
I feel like DoinB just has a
Hair trigger.
Not even that. He's got his R button stapled down. Every time it's up, instantly uses it. He's out of mana right now, so he's going to have some trouble pushing the waves back. But fortunately for him, they've run out of it on the side of Ever. And even though Ares was there to help the push out, and he's actually going around the side to clear some Rek'Sai tunnels.
It happens without fail, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Whether it's the Victor, now with the Cassiopeia, it's almost like the good old Reginald Season 1 strategy of igniting level 1 just for lane dominance and some AD and AP.
It's not about the kill, it's about sending a message.
Well, I don't know what message he sends, really. Putting himself out of mana, ulting into the Rise and missing it. Like, there's not much to say there. That was just... That's DoinB, right? You get the good and the bad. We saw him run around on Victor do some amazing things. Speaking of engages, though.
Swift was waiting in the wings for this one. TNT took already quite a lot of damage from Loken, and it looks like he wants to linger. It's an exhaust on towards Key. Fate's call, and he'll throw him back towards safety.
Just watching the level. Saw that it was level 6, so knew the kill pressure wasn't there, but nice bait coming through for no reward as Ares needs to keep his power farming, mate. You're on Mundo. Not going to do too much in the mid lane.
Yeah. Ares is already having a much better start to this game than he has had pretty much all series. Keeping pace even with the farm. He goes ahead and picks up his upgrade. And yeah, at this point, he's not had too much to contend with. He's even been able to get more aggressive. Swift is the one who's playing back this game as he helps out DoinB get this blue buff. But Ares is in the area. They might just turn their attention to mid instead.
TCT has also moved up here as well, just for a little bit of extra security, as of course we know how important that blue buff is for DoinB. Unfortunately, Ares didn't have the ability to actually contest that one directly, but still keeping tabs on Swift. He knows where people are right now. Doesn't need walls to spot them out if he checks it himself.
Just don't really understand the exhaust coming through from DoinB. I'm trying to think of a scenario where it's useful. Obviously, in a 1v1 can be useful, but the teleport seems to offer so many more options, and just look at the issue that it's been, what, 8 minutes? Only now does he get his tier, much delayed compared to that of Rise, why he was zoomed. That's why he was struggling for lane control. What is a good, again, a good matchup for Cassiopeia. He's already a bit of a CS disadvantage behind.
And it's such an out-of-character maneuver, too. I mean, maybe he's really worried about this Rise matchup or about being ganked, but yeah, the double teleport was so useful throughout this entire series, and you know QG love to make moves as a team. The Cassiopeia proved to be incredibly useful in those clutch, crazy engages that started 2v2 and ended 5v5. So it just seems so odd that he would take this as Swift is actually forced away from his own red buff.
I mean, just think about it in terms of a 5v5 sense. Okay, maybe he's taking a summoner for a team fight. You could use that exhaust on Fiora. How much is it really doing when we're going to talk about the wild growth already having on the team? It just seems like a bridge too far. They've got double exhaust for team comp. Yeah. They're just doing over a bit of poke damage.
He casually walks away. Oh, there's a flash.
Yeah, no, Key actually went for the headbutt and actually got himself a little bit caught out here. This could be trouble for the man. Only level 5, doesn't have the ultimate available, and the first blood comes out here for V, and it was off the back of a mistake from Key, going a little bit too far forward than maybe he should have.
Key, the MVP of the Kesper Cup, has been caught twice. We talked about how TCT was out-rotating him in earlier games, doing the same thing again. That was in the reverse matchup. That was TCT on Alistar making things happen to Key's Trundle, and now in the reverse matchup, still TCT on the front foot and being successful in his roams.
So many members of QG now looking to push in towards this mid side after that catch they secured on Kiki. but there's not enough minions to really be able to do too much here, and they will actually back away. We haven't talked as much about the top lane matchup. It has been a very even affair this entire game, but they focus on the mid lane. They focus on the bottom side. These are teams that are really trying to accelerate that pace, but again, QG maintaining that lead that they started with the first tower.
Last thing you want to do is be giving over that first blood to Lulu, as well as Crazy, you know, was having an okay lane, but definitely wasn't exerting any particular form of dominance, and now even going over towards that Gromp here. Look at Swift. So far forward, wants to jump on Crazy. Now that floodgates maybe just starting to trickle open a little bit. It's being close by, but this is Athena just going for the trade. Again, it's a hand trigger, I'm telling you. Doomby going to come forward though. Twin Fangs are connecting, but not enough to kill Athena.
Can't hit the face first Petrifying Gaze. Athena's able to turn around even through the exhaust quick enough on the fingers. Yes, that was a one trade for 2MB, but at what cost? No summoners burnt on Athena's side, one burnt for 2MB as Swift goes in for Crazy.
That's it, the parry does come out, and Crazy actually might be able to turn this around. The Grand Challenge is laid down, and Swift wants to back away, but the glove is taken off, slapped across his face, and Crazy stands victorious.
Great to see how fast Athena was to react to that situation. The moment that he burrowed in, Swift, even with Fash, did not have enough distance to be able to get out. Nice aggressive Fash from Athena with the Q and the Flash available for Crazy. They were always going to pick up that kill. You're talking about a top lane advantage. Suddenly, Fiore's got one back.
The mid lane again, Athena with Doomby as well. That's a tentative little engagement there. Balancing on a knife edge, but Athena actually has been able to give himself a bit of a CS lead here and an assist, but look at this in the bottom lane. It's like a key getting aggressive towards TNT, already at half health, but it doesn't look like Ever have the tools to go and capitalize on that little health differential. Swift wasn't too far from the fight.
Looks to be coming in, but he does back away after he noticed, well, they're not going to be pushing too far forward. I'll go ahead and take my Gromp instead. But good headbutt pull from Key here. He has been showing, despite the couple of mistakes, he is still a very, very competent, very aggressive support. And we saw this in the Kespa Cup where he earned that MVP on primarily Bard, but he hasn't had a chance to play at this tournament, and there is a good reason why.
Crazy there, just clearing out some wars in V. And look, CS leads here in the mid and bottom lane for Forever do bode well. Of course, V having a bit of an easier time of things up in that top side. We talked about that. Like, looking forward, where's Engage going to come?
We're getting closer and closer to the tipping point of the top lane matchup, though. There's just a reality where you're picking Lulu for pump. It's always been that way, whether it was in the Juggermore days or now. So at some point, it will just reach the point where Crazy will be able to 1v1 and then summon the Lulu. So in the early matchup, the harass, the wave clear, pushing him under turret, forcing him to go roam, and of course Swift's pressure has meant that Lulu is ahead, but it's only a temporary thing as Ares.
Getting caught out a little bit there, forced to use the Sadism, but again coming forward, it's a Petrifying Gaze, again not used front on, but Key gets a massive knock-up. 4 people go up, but the Grand Challenge is laid down, and Swift is trying to scuff the way, but he's got 2 behind him. Crazy gets the Rapier in, Doomby up around the side, and TCT, they fancy a re-engage. Not a terrible idea. Athena might be caught, but a fate's call from Key. Gets the double knock-up, make it another knock-up. This guy's been knocking people left, right, and center, but Doomby is caught out of position so far forward, and he will drop down. It's a 3 for 2 and Ever come out on top.
Massive moves for Ever as QG make a completely horrible decision to move their way into the jungle. That huge knock-up from Key enabled then to Crazy to come in around the backside off the teleport and knock them all down. A fantastic maneuver, and Ever find themselves up in this game.
Yeah, the skirmish power Fiora on full display there, despite the Grand Challenge not going off, you know, it wasn't popped in the end, able to get away with Cassiopeia. Just the consistent mobility you get as you put points into your queue, and the fact that Athena lived for so long, it took a while for him to get taken down. The early power spike of a champion like Kalista Mensch, which is free autoing, slowing, getting the Ren stacks in, and such an unorganized fight really doesn't suit, in particular, Cassiopeia, who wants to set up, stand next to her hyper carry, in this case Tristana, and kite backwards. No kiting when you're fighting in the enemy jungle.
Yeah, they just didn't have anywhere to go, and they just got over-aggressive. Still maintaining that slim gold lead. It's all from the tower at this point, but they just can't fight the way they do, as Cone will signal the end of Keys trying to go forward in this one, but there's no backup there. It doesn't matter. Yes, they have deep vision, but they paid so heavily for it. 3 kills over to this Fiora. That's just going to accelerate that ridiculousness that Crazy can bring.
We said that top lane matchup was going to get out of control. U4 shadowed the potential split push to come out from Crazy. That's a decent start for him there. Rune Prison towards Doomby. It's a great code towards Ares. He has to go try and back under towards his turret. So much damage, and he is going to go down. The Subjugate ticks, and V comes out with a win.
Been a consistent story all series. It's always been about Ares not understanding his role, whether it was earlier on the Rex side not getting the gangs up, whether it was on the Mundo, overestimating his tankiness. Level 6 to level 11 Mundo is not super tanky. As Key takes a lot of damage, will get out, but Fiora's going to have to react. They're going to have to react. They're going to lose turrets here.
Pillar of
However,
Frost has been massive in these last couple of seconds.
Oh, they have not been able to stop it, or rather to get around it at this point, and so much damage taken on this tower. Crazy obviously was trying to clear the waves in the top lane. He had already used his teleport to great effect, but he didn't have it up and available. QG, knowing that timer was down, go ahead and take the push in. So much damage to Delta areas, and I don't know what it is. It's like whenever he plays Mundo, he's able to die, but no other Mundos are. I guess called unlucky.
It's you're choosing skirmishes at level 6, at level 7, at level 8 with just a jungle item completed. That's not Mundo's wheelhouse. When we saw Rush, for example, break out, we thought, okay, not really a Rush champion, but he wasn't really a big factor till much later in the game. He wasn't looking to soak till he hit level 11, and that's the reality of Mundo. Sure, you have some offensive capabilities with the cleaver, perma-slow, and decent damage, but when it comes to defensive, when it comes to his late-game identity, it is not online until a couple of health items, and crucially level 11, are completed.
ESC, while having shown that QG should be careful about trying to pick a fight with them, seem to struggle with their options there in towards that middle lane. Again, always a Pillar of Frost coming out. It's a Void Rush as well. So see QG are just congregating around this part of the map here. A few pings here and there. Nothing to come of it at this stage.
This might have been the longest game that these two have gone without attempting a dragon, but that could change pretty soon. They're really focusing more on trying to fight each other, which I feel like has definitely been the theme of this tournament overall, even though they have bucked the trend. And of course, they've already made it to the finals. They've made it 2v2 against one another. You have to be so careful when everything's on the line. Everything keeps turning on a knife's edge. QG still in the lead in the gold, despite that massive loss that they sustained in the enemy jungle. However, they're looking to push continuously, and they have the waves in their favor.
Dragon Control's definitely been about as slapdash as the pick ban priorities have been over the course of this series. We've seen multiple games where we've had 3 dragons by 22 minutes by one team, and then we've seen games where they're not claimed the first one by 20 minutes. But 17 minutes, that seems to be the magic number for the first dragon attempt at least. But looking at the minimap, it's going to be the first dragon for Xiaogu.
Xiaogu will secure that one there as well, and they'll take it if they can. Otherwise, if it's a risky, it looks like they won't bother. And yes, even despite that though, the focus between the mid and the bottom side of the map has been extreme. You can see Crazy now can go top. Of course, V probably doesn't fancy making his way up there himself at this point.
And 91 CS, up in CS, this is where the Lulu starts to need to play the team game. Because the selfish game, the laning game, no fun.
Yeah, well, you get Lulu into that position, usually that's what you're going to be picking it for. So, Athena, doing B, trying to duke it out in the mid. Swift was looking for the dive there, but they don't want to go for it when they don't know where the Mundo is, and he is in the area. TNT loses his turret in the bottom side. But this is what I've loved about this series especially. Every game is so distinct. The teams keep adapting to what each other are doing as now the teleport comes in, and it's going to be Athena coming in instantly. The ult from Doinb.
The petrifying gaze was caught on him. He teleported in. He copped one to the face, and our air is going a little bit low as well. If you set yourself up so obviously for that, you can't teleport in backwards. It just doesn't work. And Doinb plays that ult down, gets the kill, and the turret falls to Xiaogu.
Doinb's been fishing for that particular interaction, finally gets it, and we might see more turrets. At least going to draw a teleporter.
Teleport in, Keys off on the side, but no follow-up for him at this stage. Just the infected cleaver from Ares to try and back QG up, but it doesn't look like that's going to work for them here.
Absolutely fantastic, forcing the attention as Key now has nowhere to go, pulled in by Loken. Saves his life this time, but when you have to use that Callista ult defensively, you know you're on the back foot. Another pickup there for QG as they keep their gold lead still steady at about 1,000, but they have pressured the inner turret of Ever and have maintained control, not to mention their top tower.
Nice thing about this Ever comp, the one thing that I will compliment it for is that the early power spike, the 2-item power spike that's always existed for Callista and still does, is at least going to buy time for the scaling of the likes of the Rise and the Mundo. He's already hit 2 items now, and suddenly 5v5 team fighting. Okay, you get a catch on Ares, you get a catch on Athena, maybe you can win a fight, but if it's just a balanced fight, you must respect Blade the Ruin King into Hurricane Callista, especially with those items finished so damn early in the picture.
See just how scary that Pillar of Frost is when you've only got that little bit of space between that middle tower and the other wall. If you put it down properly, you can catch someone, but the Void Rush has been drawn out of Swift here. He knows he needs to be in this vicinity, notwithstanding anything crazy that may be a requirement for his presence. It's a blue buff as well for TNT. He did lose his turret first, mind you. He'll now try and play that team game as well. And it's crazy now, the split pushing machine that he is, amassing some farm. So that slight lead as well, and he's looking to extend on it.
It's kind of a kind of a subtle thing, but the big thing about Athena's mistake, which led to the kill in mid, that actually affects Ever, is that all the golds aren't crazy. He's got 3, 0, and 0, but he has no teleport, so it does take away from what should be a dominant split-pushing display from this Fiora, just because she's going to have to keep cheating towards mid, because she cannot match the mobility of Lulu when it comes to moving between lanes without teleport in consideration.
Top tower going down there for Athena. He just spent a couple moments up there just to pick that one up there, and wouldn't be a blue buff for himself here.
It was about time to knock that top tower down, and Ever will about even out the gold there. It's still about 400 different, but that is pretty much chump change at the 20-minute mark that we have now reached. One dragon in favor of QG, but they got that one for free. V doesn't want to go all in versus Athena, as you mentioned earlier, Papa Smithy. This is going to be a much more supportive role. He's got so much cooldown reduction this early on, sitting on only the Morellonomicon and the Frost Queen's claim. And QG, for the most part, despite losing that top tower, can keep themselves nice and safe. Ever has to find a way to break through this wall.
It's the 1-3-1. That's what they've got. We talked about all the different ways that Ever can't really 5v5 team fight, barring a pick, barring an amazing teleport flank. They've got the double teleport advantage, and they've got a very, very strong fed split pusher in Fiora, and a champion that can potentially 1v2, 1v3 with enough items in Rise. So the 1-3-1 with both teleports up, that's the big thing they want to do. Right now, those teleports aren't up, and the big risk is the 3 we're talking about that are left over: Mundo, Kalista, and Alistar. You can see the Kalista attempt to AoE wave clear, but it's not a Sivir. It's not excellent wave clear between those 3. So with the likes of Tristana, one person gets caught, multiple targets going to fall in the 1-3-1 game.
That's what we saw last time around as well. Pretty much every game there has been a Tristana in this series so far. Ares goes a little bit deep in the jungle, trying to clear some wards away. The pink is protected, but the rest of Ever are there. Even if Mundo's caught, he's not in too much trouble now that he's getting a little closer to that level 11 mark. Still not quite there. But still, QG are able to turn this pressure off. They're able to push away in the waves. They need to rely, as Ever does, needs to rely on Crazy to be able to split push this. But despite the teleport disadvantage, QG Reapers are just so great at maneuvering on the map quick enough to stop the push in its tracks.
Here's the thing, you're going for the 1-3-1, of course, and, you know, we said that Ever don't have a great amount of engaged potential, so, but a 1-3-1 with those 3 sort of vulnerable-looking champions on their own is enough to provoke some sort of engage, and that's where ESC can get the fight they're looking for.
Yeah, the teleport's coming up soon. You can just see that scenario where a pick comes to. Of course, they have the Trundle, so Trundle can do some very creative things in the mid lane. As we mentioned, there's low wave clear, so there is answers to the 1-3-1, or at least to provoke the teleport. You catch Loken with his flash down, you're going to get the double teleport out. You get that reprieve for 3 to 4 to 5 minutes. Leaving it, though, that's the thing. The exhaust that Doinby take, let's just talk about it for a moment. The only reason to take that is to double down on their teamfight supremacy. So that, of course, conventionally will require Ever to double down on split push. So it's both teams understanding win conditions, but they're all in on each one. And the first one to slip will be giving up, probably at minimum, an inhibitor turret.
Absolutely, and you know, this is what gives Ever a little bit more information. We've talked about how, you know, some of QG's decisions are just a little bit telegraphed as Ares gets a bit caught up here. That's a lot of damage being burned onto him already, though.
Level 11, though, got the Giant's Belt as well, so able to get away from it. What did QG prioritize, though? They're starting up the Dragon.
Want to force a fight here.
It isn't being used there for Ares, so he's had to use that to try and sustain back up, and it's only she and the Balistar there. The Dragon does go over, but there might be a fight on the back of it, but where is the rest of ESC? Key goes forward, realizing there's no one there to join him, and he's going to have to pulverize down to get himself out, but there comes a Pillar of Frost. It's going to force out the ultimate for Loken. Fate's call to call Key back from a very forward position.
Let's give Ever credit where credit's due. They could have gone for a fight. They could have used their double teleport, but they used neither because they realized, okay, just a second Dragon, not a big hole to get into. It's not our win condition to go for these 5v5 fights. I love the steady trigger hand because I can tell you, when those Dragons are started, the rush of blood to the head, the teleport ward, you want to fight, but that's not Ever's game plan.
It was a very cool-headed decision, but the issue was they got nothing in exchange for that Dragon being taken by QG. A few minions pushed on the wave, immediately Crazy backs off, tries to go back in case a fight does get forced, and QG come out with just a little bit for free. They just keep grabbing little advantages here and there, and it feels like QG aren't too worried about the likes of Crazy and the likes of Athena pushing on the sideways when they know they can draw them away. The big thing here is it's all about the mid lane. They don't have that teleport advantage with Doinby anymore since he has the exhaust, but that means as long as they start things in the mid lane, they don't need to.
Absolutely. Barreling down the mid lane, forcing teleports to react. That's what QG wants to do. Again, they want the 5v5. They've got double exhaust, petrifying gaze. Kiting backwards is hilariously easy for this team between the Lulu, the petrifying gaze, the Trundle pillar. They have so many options in that 5v5, and that's why. Keeps it pushing, if that's what you want to do, Eva, because that's really the only option you have.
Yeah, well, I mean, ESC looking to extend now further into Chaoku's jungle, put some wards down to afford that extra degree of safety for those two champions that are doing the split pushing.
And we haven't really talked about the Baron that much this game since everyone steered pretty clear of the pit even when the Rift Herald was sitting in it, but there's so much vision coverage around it. Swift is clearing a bit of it out right now, but you can tell, they're looking at this as a potentially extremely useful buff because that will enable their 1-3-1 to get ever so more powerful. One more hit on the turret will do it as they knock down the final outer one, but it has been a slow war of attrition this game.
But finally, the globals make a difference. Look who has to saunter to the bot lane in a turret to defend it is Doinby. Doesn't have a teleport of his own, moves out of the way. They get mid turret, they take away enemy blue. That's the start of what should be a consistent story for at least the next 10 minutes.
I have never heard of a snake sauntering, but I do love that description, Papa Smithy.
And I say, I have my moments.
Slithering, sauntering, whatever you want to call it. It's Doinby in that bottom side as well, just trying to exacerbate, well, I mean, alleviate, that's a great word, Mitch. Some of the pressure, obviously, in that bottom side, but Athena's always going to be there just a couple seconds after, continuing to keep that going. And you talked about the story for the next 10 minutes and how that's going to evolve here. I mean, where or when? Both, actually, do QG actually want to go for these fights?
Looks like right now, actually, as Crazy gets jumped on.
There's going to be exhaustion and force back, and Ares is going to be there, but there's not a lot of support, not even any moral support. He's just going to walk away, of course. Not much that Ares can really do. The flash from TCT going forward. There's Key, there's Loken, but they've already lost one. How are they going to make this one happen for them now? It's going to be a Fate's call to get Key out, and Ares backing away as well, tail between his legs.
I mean, to answer your question that you put through, of course, we saw it on the screen, but it's all about the shot coins, all about keeping the cool head. And now with a member down, multiple fashes down, come and fight us at Baron, because we've got all the answers.
Crazy is still 20 seconds away from being on this map here. ESC will be crazy to try and fight it, but maybe that's what's going to happen. It's a petrifying gaze. It's Swift coming forward. TNT jumping on in, and Loka gets blown the heck up. The double kill, though, is going to be coming out from Athena. He got there, and maybe the chase is on. Doinby pinned up against the wall. Key is going to get rough and tumble on towards their Cassiopeia, and Athena wants to chase this one as well. Misses the overload, but does get close enough. The Rule Prison goes down 3 for 1. ESC, one man down, make the fight happen.
Invested so much right now into this fight, into the picking off Loken. They lost everything on the back half of it. Doinby even spent his flash. They were already weakened from the Baron. That was not a great decision because the member that they got down was not as essential as the rest of Evers.
Absolutely, and now they're going to start the Baron themselves, Eva. It looked like a smart call with all the variables being talked about, but a magic resist shred being applied by the Baron and the rise damage, it clearly wrecked QG.
Be hoping for some kind of miracle steal, but I don't think that's what's going to happen. The Baron will go over towards Eva. They turn things around, and now the pressure will surely start to mount.
The seesaw is crazy this game. It's been like a pendulum for this series, but this has been some true seesaw stuff, going one way and then the other. The SWAT calling is what we're going to talk about. We're going to finally see a replay. Remember, magic resist shred coming through, AoE damage coming through, and eventually a rise.
He sends them all into the pit where they're stopped up for a minute. All this pressure being exerted onto Swift as well.
My goodness, the machine gun activated at just the right party, went through, the spell rotations were on point. And Ryze, look, they don't have an AD carry, but Ryze basically functions like an AD carry at this point because consistent damage is what he's all about.
Doinby stops there as well to try and put some damage back. He gets Rune Prison.
I mean, he was dead. There was no way out there. He thought, all right, turn around for some return damage, maybe try and deny the Baron if Ryze falls low enough. It's not the case, and kills are all even. The turrets are close to that, but the Baron is a big advantage swing to Eva.
Yeah, pendulum keeps on swaying, and this time, though, Ever has built up the largest gold lead we've seen for them this game around. It is 29 minutes in. Even if everything else is net even, QG have a lot to worry about in the next 3.5.
Crazy still has his teleport. That's another big factor. He's going to keep spinning. It's been, what, 15 minutes since we said Lulu can't really go top, and Yeah, you just look at these items. That's the core. Of course, he might pick up some health items and turn the Ravenous Hydra into a Titanic Hydra later, but the damage core, this is what we saw consistently from Marin at Worlds, and it's still very, very powerful on this patch. The Answering Dragon's going to come through. 6% stats at 30 minutes. You're feeling pretty good if you're Evan.
So the later in the game you go, the better that first Dragon is going to be. And Athena now as well, taking up his position here on the split push. He doesn't have his teleport quite available yet, so we'll try and stay close as ever. Again, extending their influence now into the jungle of Xiaogu, making sure nothing untoward happens so they can have an idea of where they are, keeping tabs on the Chinese side.
1-3-1 will work wonders this time around. No one can 1v1 Athena, at least of all TNT, who has to back away just to try and finish up a minion himself. Turret goes down in the bottom side. Lissa will take one out, or rather, get one taken out. Another goes over. It's just getting very, very hot and very troublesome for QG.
Again, this push is just on. Of course, V up in the top side, but Crazy inexorable again as he can push in on towards this tower here, forcing TCT to come and assist there as well. Follow-up, what will it be? It's a Frost Queen claim used there as well. Just harassment there.
It tickles. There's almost no damage. Crazy's able to shrug it off.
You can just see in the other parts of the map, though, the moment they send multiple members, you can see people pushing up. Ryze has already been very overextended. He's going to have his teleport soon. There's just so few good options for Xiaogu, and that's been the story every time double teleport's been involved. And we thought this meta would be the return of Ignite, the return of burst damage because of the death time.
Don't do that, V.
Doing his best Marin impression, but backing away. Just the reality. V's just doing his best, but not much you can do in this matchup.
And look at the vision forever now in the jungle. They have done their homework. Diligent stuff from them, of course, making sure that they can't be caught here as well. And it's quite oppressive for QG to play against. They're trying to shut the door in the face of the Reapers here.
And you can really see why they were prioritizing that Baron so heavily and baiting QG into trying to start it, forcing the fight, and then just outright winning it. They've gotten so much off of it. 2 towers, 2 inners. They've nearly knocked down a third up in the top lane, and they get so much deep vision. Some of it's fading away, yes, but QG are licking their wounds, and they're barely able to leave their base.
I mean, the deep vision they put down by wards is one thing. This is actually one of the first times in the tournament where we can talk about the minion wave changes, just because you look in the bottom lane, there's a 2-turret advantage, plus the levels are starting to stack up. With that advantage, those minions, they're doing more damage, they're taking less damage, they're going to keep pushing down the wave towards this turret, despite there not being the super minion status. The effect of that is that the minion waves are always deeper. It's more permanent vision down the lane as the monsters put up. They have so much information to ever, and QG are just grasping on the minute bits of information they have left.
32 minutes on the clock, getting to be one of those later games that we have seen since the tournament has been very, very fast-paced on this 5.23 patch. Still the split push coming in from the Fiora. Athena is on the top side doing the same thing. Gets spotted out by the ward from V, but no more Baron buff, so it is a bit of a reprieve for the Reapers. However, they need to make a miracle happen here to get back into this game.
With both teleports up, though, Doinbe's anchored in bottom. They can turn, they have so many options. Okay, there's not a Baron to pick up, there's no easy neutrals to pick up, but map control is being completely taken away from QG. This is just suffocation via the globals, via the pressure, via the Baron from Evan.
Look at them pushing up. The battle line has definitely been advanced by a great deal. QG having their territory taken away from them, and then their defensive zone as well is disappearing with it. Look at these movements. I mean, we know Mundo goes where he wants to go, but the rest of Ever can also do that here as well. Flo confronting up here and towards the mid. They're just going to do it. This is a war of attrition. Just chunk these towers down bit by bit.
They can keep staying safe as much as they want. They've got the superior move speed, as you say, Uber. And right now, QG, not only have they run out of options, but they've just run out of mobility. They have some scaling on their side. They have a Tristana. They have the Cassiopeia. The Lulu, though, has a lot of the gold here, and that's not really going to do as much, since at this stage of the game, you want to be able to force the 5v5s and never just say, nah, we're going to pull you apart as far as we can on this map and force you to react to us. Now that they control the pace of this game, they control the way it's going to end.
That's why, as analysts, you have to take a step back and think about things in a non-linear fashion. We were so trained on how are they ever going to fight that we never thought about the fact that the split push was so oppressive that fighting doesn't matter when you've got a Baron advantage. When you have all these other intangibles, there never needs to be a 5v5 fight. It could just be a pick and the game's over.
And maybe that's exactly what we're going to see here. Fate's Call comes in and gets 2. Beautiful headbutt from Key, and that's going to isolate Doinbe. Oh my lord, TNT is going to go down as well. TCT trying to back away. Double kill for Loken now, and the damage just keeps coming. And they can't roll with a punch. punches. QG, sorry, just don't have enough gas in the tank to deal with these push now, and the inhibitors will fall.
Absolutely insane. They take one out in the bottom. They don't need the rest of them here. This is gonna be it. This is gonna be IEM Cologne. Ladies and gentlemen, one Nexus Tower is down and counting.
And they're gonna keep falling.
They thought the Cinderella story of winning Kesper Cup was a start. This is the ultimate icing on the cake. Ever, the team that's not even going to make it into champion is going to win IEM Cologne.
After everything and all the doubts, we do, of course, have our 2015 Intel Extreme Masters Cologne champions. It's ever have done it in a massive best-of-5 series. Gentlemen, that will be a series, and a series of games, of course, to remember. Stunning stuff from Ever. Get it done in the end.
And this is the first time Ever has really looked like mortals. This series, they definitely did show some deficiencies. When they moved away from double teleport, when they moved away from flex picks, there were definitely holes that could be exploited by Xiaogu. Xiaogu's draft in the last looked so strong, but Ever stuck to their guns. They were diligent. They didn't use those teleports to fight for dragons because they understood teleport advantage is what they had, split push is what they had, and that ability to just train on the win condition, not get distracted, and stick to it is what propelled them to the victory in Game 5.
But what a story for Ever and for Xiaogu as well. Not a lot of people knowing what to expect. That Cinderella story from Ever being placed in the upper end of the bracket. Everybody was looking at Cloud9, looking at this new H2K super team, looking at Fnatic's new roster. But in the end, this team, it was not easy for them, but they came up with just a massive amount of energy to be able to take this championship here in Cologne, and they look stylish doing it.
It's bittersweet for them, though, as they're going to raise the trophy.
That's it, of course. Now, cheers do ring out in the arena. And yes, he Ever will hold that trophy high as well. They've had their fair share of disappointments this season, of course, but they've come off the back of that Kesper Cup win, and they replicate it here. They definitely, of course, want to spring themselves into a successful 2016, and what a way to start. Gentlemen, it's been a pleasure to have you with you, Papa Smithy, and of course, Pyrotechnics. Let's pass it over to the expert desk now to cut this one open and celebrate the game that we have just seen.
Thank you, gentlemen. Of course, big congratulations going out to Ever, coming in off of a win at the Kesper Cup with a lot of doubts following them from Korea. Everyone wondering, how much of a deal was that? How prepared were the other teams? They came in, and I think to some extent, it's even better for them that they struggled a little bit towards the end, showing that, you know what, we are mortal, others prepared against us, but we were able to overcome it towards the end.
For sure.
For sure, yeah. I mean,
like-
there's nothing to add.
It's like,
Well, I'm glad I should just be the expert because I can summarize everything for you guys. I don't need their opinions. But let's talk about the game a little bit, and in a short bit, we'll actually have a replay for you, something that, of course, the commentators were also able to break down during the game, but a very important fight towards the middle of the game, which showcased the strengths of Ever to a certain extent, and also perhaps the weaknesses that we saw on the other side from QG.
I felt like QG kind of forgot what their composition was about. They cannot be face checking into these areas. They have to always stand around lanes and push into towers. Wait for the moments when the Ever lineup actually engages onto, of course, the QG lineup, and then the Cassiopeia does wonders, and the Tristana and the Lulu do wonders. But if you're going to chase after them, then you're going to get slaughtered by the man, the Avatar, Rise.
Yeah, and we kind of questioned, the Rise picks going into the series as it panned out. We were wondering also, is it going to be on Crazy or not? We were a little bit worried about Crazy's performance so far, but they put that Rise in mid, and Athena just carried with it for sure, and showing why we mentioned and some other teams started prioritizing Rise early on this weekend.
I know that you brought up Athena as the primary carry, and I know that you guys also want to talk about the true carry of the team, which is their support player, Key. That guy is incredible, and I just want to quickly touch on his champion pool. We talked about effective champion pools at the beginning of this tournament. Key played 2 champions in the Kesper Cup. He played Bard, and he played Braum, and this time around showing an incredible Alistar.
Yeah, Key had some incredible combos for sure on the Alistar, but overall I think drawing the bans and then still being able to overcome that himself and be a threat on the team is something impressive.
I mean, if you're a sword power player and force like a ban every single game so far this tournament, like the Bard was like permabanned, you give your team so much breathing room because every team is so scared of that one support play, and then of course there's the Trundle that is like semi-banned all the games too. So I think just coming into this tournament, it gave him like a really good advantage. Key showed in the Kesper Cup already that he's strong, but at this like IEM here, he showed like why he's like a really, really good support and what he can do with those picks. very good champion pool on top mechanics, and overall he's like doing a really, really great job, and is really important to the team fights, and especially like how Ever is playing as a team.
Yeah, and before we continue on with more analysis about the game and, of course, Ever and their successes, I do want to bring up that replay we mentioned earlier. It was towards the middle part of the game, and it starts off, of course, with QG going towards the Baron.
I feel like this is a massive mistake because we can roll the clip right away because I feel like QG's composition should remain in the lanes. Finally, Key is going to do that wonderful combo that starts off the fight. Beautiful. And with that in mind, QG's composition needs to be around the lanes. They need to siege those turrets because they have a massive range advantage. And with that in mind, eventually, of course, Ever need to engage on top of QG. And Cassiopeia is going to do wonders, Lulu's going to do wonders, and you can't reach anything. But if you're going to start the Baron, then you're going to get slaughtered by Ryze and Mundo.
Yeah.
I mean, it effectively comes back to the identity of Ever. We said that they were an incredibly good late-game shot-calling team. They were super patient. They waited it out, and Xiaogu, their impatience betrayed them right there, starting off that Baron not having a clear win condition. It was a 4v5, but the Baron counted as the 5th member. So it's nice to see that Ever have really defined themselves, not only in a one-off in the Caspa Cup. You know, is this their moment? Is it just a one-chance team? But defining themselves now in IEM Cologne and getting to go to the championship.
Yeah, I think just impressing fans all around the world with what they're able to bring to League of Legends. It was a good showing from Ever, but before we close out the night, we actually have a chance to speak to one of the winning members. It is going to be Loken from Ever.
Thank you so much, Chobra, and please do stay around because I will need your help translating. First off, Loken, congratulations. You are the Intel Extreme Masters Cologne Champion 2015. What does that mean to you?
일단 이렇게 캐스파컵 우승으로 IEM
First coming off of the victory
켈른에 와서
from the
이렇게
Caspa
우승까지
Cup
하게 되니까
and winning
너무너무
here in the
기쁘고요.
Intel Extreme
잘해준
Masters.
팀원들한테도 너무
It
고마워요.
feels so great, and I'm so thankful to my teammates who performed very well.
Very understandable. You know, throughout the weekend, you've really caught the attention of League fans and the following the world over, somewhat due to the flashy playstyle that you have. How would you rate yourself now against some of the other AD carry legends that are out there in the scene?
저는 아직 그런 선수들한테 비교될 정도는 아니기 때문에
I would say
이제 막 올라오는
I can't really be
사람이니까
compared to the legends we
좀 더
already
잘해지기
have.
위해 노력해서
I think I have
그분들까지
a
가야죠.
lot to improve, and I think I'm still rising, and there's a long way for me to reach that level.
Very, very well spoken. Now, this was not only the first international appearance of your team, but also as a newly formed team, one of the first chances where you played in a tournament like this. What are your first impressions of Korea? Is Korea really that powerful on the international scene?
그래도 한국이 전 세계에서 제일 롤을 잘한다고 생각해요.
Yeah, I think Korea is definitely the #1 region in the world in League of Legends.
You've already won the fans here. They're very supportive of you. Do you have anything you'd like to say for the fans that have come out and supported you guys so vocally this entire weekend?
일단 오늘 경기 보러 와주셔서 정말
Yeah, first of all,
감사하고요.
thank you to
아마추어
everyone
팀들도 이렇게
came
응원해 주셔서
to
정말
watch us play,
감사합니다.
and thank you
다음번에도
so much
더 좋은
for
모습으로
supporting us, even though we're
다음 IEM에서 뵙겠습니다.
amateur team, and we will show you great games at the next Intel Extreme Masters.
Well, we definitely look forward to seeing you in Katowice, and of course, I'm sure that you guys will have lots to talk about. For now, I say, look, thank you so much for talking to me. Thank you very much, and right back over to you guys.
All right, Loken showing, some humility, saying, I'm nowhere close to the legends we already have within the AD carry role. Got a long way to go, but also giving props to his team. And, you could just tell that the whole team, even after they won, they were a little bit flustered because it's really incredible for a team to come in, win a tournament in their region, and then go to an international tournament, win that again, regardless of the other factors surrounding both.
And that's exactly what happened at the Caspa Cup. After Ever won, you could tell on their faces how shocked they were. Not even just the final, but beating SKT. The camera got up close and they got very emotional. It was like, wow. You can tell that this is just as much a magical journey for them as it is for us.
Yeah, just incredible play from them. I mean, day one, or, their first match, day two, were blown away first game. Just, oh my God, they understand the draft. And then suddenly they falter a little bit. And then they come to the finals, and QG challenges them. They come prepared with their own curveballs, with their own tricks up their sleeves. And Ever did struggle a little bit, but they're able to really get their own game, the gameplay they wanted in game number 5.
For sure, I gotta give QG some credit as well.
Yeah.
Coming into almost every match, they were looking like the underdog, except maybe for the Dignitas matchup. Even though they lost the first one, people lost faith already in that one. And after that, it's like QG, they improved so much over the span of 3 days, and I'm super impressed by the level of adaptation they've shown in this tournament.
Yeah, credit where credit is due, absolutely. It's very rare for us to see such dramatic changes within a team and how they operate in the meta just in 3 days, even if they have the chance to scrim other regions. Well, this weekend we got the look at 5.23. We got to look at some new rosters, but Ever comes out swinging. Ever and QG lock themselves in for the Intel Stream Masters World Championship in Katowice. What are your thoughts overall from this weekend?
I'm super surprised that LPL sent a team to an international stage and we saw adaptation.
Yeah, I mean, that's something we joked about earlier on, is that, oh, the LPL, they always just play their own meta and they can never really get over it. But you're right, QG, big props to them, bringing respect to the whole region, really, through just one weekend of tournament play. What about you, Dexter?
I mean, honestly, I just want to see Team Ever in the LCK. I'm so sad that we might even not see this team in the LCK. Hashtag support Team Ever right now here on the
Ever
desk from me.
forever.
I'm just hoping they
Ever
get Najin
forever.
slot. That is a possibility. Najin
I hope
disbanded.
so.
Maybe they get Najin slot.
Of course, we have to see IEM Katowice, what they're gonna do. I'm really excited. Like, this is a team where I'm really like happy to just look at what they want to do, because they seem to understand, and probably by the time they play more games, they're gonna get better and better. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
You know, I think an important part is normally when we see new teams and we talk about their potential, it's because they like won their first match and then they failed the second one. We're like, oh, they had potential. Well, we think we can expect good things from them the next tournament. But this team won 2 tournaments in a row. They're showing that they're up for their job, and it's not just the potential. They already know how to unlock certain parts of it. So a very exciting team takes the title here at the Intel Stream Masters in Cologne, and of course, both finalists locking themselves in for the Intel Stream Masters World Championship in Katowice. Thank you so much for joining us this weekend. All of you League of Legends fans around the world, will see you in Katowice for the World Championship.